Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Markwayne Mullin and Jake Tapper are clashing over Kash Patel's recent nomination, and not only does Markwayne Mullin seem really excited, you can tell Jake Tapper is not happy about this situation. Let's dive in.
So I want to ask you about Kash Patel, who was just confirmed as director of the FBI. Yeah. You were a big supporter of his. I think there are a lot of people who would say he wouldn't be this. I don't know if he's been sworn in yet, but
he'll be sworn in tomorrow.
He'll be sworn in. Okay, he wouldn't be the soon-to-be FBI director. What do you say to critics? And there were two Republicans who voted against him, Murkowski and Collins. What do you say to critics who say, hey, look, he wrote a book in 2022. It's called Government Gangsters. He listed 60 so-called deep state operatives. He called it a cabal of unelected tyrants. And these include a number of Trump officials, right? Attorney General Bill Barr, National Security Advisor John Bolton, White House counsel Pat Cipollone, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, White House Communications Director Alyssa Farah Griffin, FBI Director Chris Wray. You have no issue with an FBI director that has an enemies list made up of basically critics?
I wouldn't call that an enemies list. That's what the media likes to call it. What he was doing is exposing what he felt like was truth, and I don't think he was far off base. He's also the one that exposed the hypocrisy coming out of the FBI and exposed what Director Wray was doing, and by weaponizing the FBI to go after political enemies. You've got to remember, this is the same FBI that was going after Catholic churches, think that they could be a domestic terrorist organization. They're the same people that went after parents for going to school board meetings during COVID. This is an organization that should be mission focused on keeping all Americans safe, not weaponize themselves after political foes by treating President Trump's classified documents completely different than what they treated Biden's classified documents. And no one can say that they weren't classified documents. Either they are or they're not. Why were they treated different? Kash Patel
is two different special counsels. But
it doesn't make any difference. The FBI wrote a report feeling sorry for Biden and said that it's probably
that was the special counsel, not the FBI.
Well, the FBI was the one that did the investigation. And so what I'm saying is Kash Patel is the one that exposed the hypocrisy going on there, and he's somebody that can restore the faith back in it. This is why law enforcement overwhelmingly supported him. He had 3,100 law enforcement officers, current law enforcement officers, that supported Kash Patel to be the director of FBI.
Why would somebody who looks like he is eager to politicize the FBI be an answer to what you are?
What do you mean politicize? He didn't politicize it. Director Wray and the Biden administration politicized it. He's wanting to restore.
It's a group called Government Gangsters and called a cabal of unelected tyrants.
How is that politicizing? That wasn't an enemies list. That was in his book, and he was exposing the decisions that they had made at the time. When you start saying that he's going to politicize it, he's made it very clear that he's wanting to put them back in focus for protecting American people and get them out of the political game that they've been playing for 8 years, really, because they did it underneath Hillary and they did it underneath Biden.
Well, Hillary wasn't president.
Secretary of State.
Okay.
There has to be some sort of change going on at the FBI. There has to be someone that can start rooting out the problems with the deep state. And instead of Jake Tapper having the journalistic integrity to be looking at the FBI and asking themselves, why did Bill Clinton meet with the number 2 FBI agent on a tarmac in Arizona right before the 2016 election, right when the FBI was looking into Hillary Clinton for her crimes? Then you need to ask yourself, why was the mainstream media silent after 2020 when it was exposed that the FBI had been looking into just normal Americans, Catholics? I'm a Protestant dude, even though this is technically I got 2 Catholic symbols above me. Protestants don't really have that kind of drip, let's be honest here. But Catholic Americans who were against abortion and didn't like the lockdowns were being raided and monitored by the FBI. Let's be honest for just a brief moment. And think, why would the FBI do this? Why was Merrick Garland the attack dog? Which, by the way, if that's the Democrats' best attack dog, let's be thankful that we got a Pomeranian instead of a pit bull. So, now we need to turn our attention to Kash Patel. And before we do that, I do want to say something nice, not about Lisa Murkowski. Lisa Murkowski is a deep state swamp creature. And by the way, if you've ever been to Alaska in the summer, yeah, she's about as popular as the state bird, the mosquito. Good grief. But I'll carry some water for Susan Collins. Maine is a mostly blue state. It's I think about 53% Democrat, and the fact that a Republican got elected at all is nothing short of a miracle. So I'm willing to give Susan Collins some grace for the same reason that we seem to love John Fetterman. John Fetterman will occasionally say something that we agree with as Republicans and as conservatives, and sorry, I keep whenever I get two people it's stuck in my mind, I'll compare the two, and I'll accidentally pick the wrong name every time. That's my version of dyslexia. But Susan Collins is between a rock and a hard place. She knows that if she pushes the envelope too far, she's going to lose her seat entirely. And I would rather have a Republican that occasionally votes with the Democrats than a Democrat that always votes with the Democrats. Okay? But Lisa Murkowski, on the other hand, that's a swamp creature through and through. She loves the deep state for some insipid reason. And I'm not even going to blame ranked choice voting. That's simply the fact of the matter. So, anyways, but now we need to turn our attention to Kash Patel himself, and put yourself in his shoes for a little bit. Seriously, take a page out of To Kill a Mockingbird. Step inside another person's shoes and walk around in them for a little while. And what you'll note is, imagine that you are a recent lawyer. You have come to America because pretty much everywhere else in the world has been terrible to you. So you come here. Your parents aren't exactly affluent, but they're not exactly poor either, and they give you a good education. You go through the American legal system, you become a lawyer, and your favorite books are To Kill a Mockingbird, and your favorite movie is The Caine Mutiny. And you get into the American legal system, you get a good job and a good career ahead of you, and all of a sudden you go from those idolized ideas where you are actually the good guy, and instead you find out that, oh, this world is terrible. It is nothing but this muck, mire, and swampy nastiness, and I've got to navigate my way through this? No. Kash Patel has been navigating through the waters of the swamp, and finally he's just had enough. And to say that he has an enemies list, I'm sorry, when you note the problems, let's say there's a water main leak in a major stadium, and you fire the person that found the problem. Okay? You don't fire the person that found the problem unless you're trying to hide the problems. Okay? There's clear problems in the FBI. There is clear corruption going on. It has been politicized, and it needs to be uprooted and burned. Okay? You don't keep the weeds around in your garden, you uproot them entirely and you put them on the burn pile or the compost pile, depending on which way you swing. But both work. Okay? And in order for Kash Patel to clean out the swamp, the muck, and the mire, and the corruption in the FBI, he is going to need people like Markwayne Mullin championing him through the streets. It does not matter that Kash Patel has had an interesting alternative political career. I don't care about that, and neither should we. Okay? The reality of the situation is simple. Kash Patel is looking at the problems, he is finding the corruption, and he is promised to go in there and root out the issues. And the mainstream media is fear-mongering over this. Jake Tapper is trying to nitpick here and there constantly through this little segment, and the reality is, if he was a real journalist, he would be salivating at the idea that the FBI is corrupt, because that means more headlines for him and his organization over at CNN. But the reality is, they don't want that. They want to keep the sludge moving forward because maybe deep down, the mainstream media is a part of the swamp as well. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.